Okay,
I
we're
call-
recording. We're
Oh,
recording.
I was just fixing to
Well,
say something funny.
I call this meeting to order at 2 o'clock. All right, Philip.
I'm going to allow Jennifer, who has been working with the chief on this curfew ordinance, and I thought chief was gonna be here.
Chief said, he told me earlier he was gonna be here.
Why don't we do this? Why don't we go to these other items and see if you can get a hold of chief and see if he'll come over?
Okay.
But I think this
Well, Chief
curfew.
knew, I talked to him an hour ago and he said he was coming.
So you may just be hung up with something.
Yeah. If you can bump him real quick, Jennifer, and see if he's on his way.
Okay.
Second item, itinerant merchants. This is something that came up when Peanut came to the office and came to a council meeting not long ago. And you see where there's that little red asterisk? And itinerant merchants, if you do not
Which is
have
what we
a
always refer to as a peddler's
peddler's
license.
license, yeah.
That's how I've known it.
Peddler's license or itinerant merchant. And this has been on the books for God knows how long.
96.
I think it was originally, it was before 1996, because I was here prior to that and it was on the book. Okay? It may be in the 96 date on there just when they renewed,
Yeah.
but ever since I've been hanging around Blackstone, it's been on the books. If you're an itinerant merchant or a peddler, going door to door,
Crap.
setting up a trailer over a food line, selling furniture, any of those kind of things, you don't have a permanent situs for your restaurant, your meal truck, your furniture store, or people selling flower potted plants.
Yeah.
You guys have enforced it over the years, and people be walking door to door and trying to sell stuff.
Oh, we've had plenty
Yeah.
of people selling books out of the back of their car, running
You know the
around.
deal. So
ADT.
we don't have an accommodation for food trucks. Okay? We don't really have an accommodation for a food truck. And I think Peter's getting ready to open a food truck. And I think he got surprised the other night when he was here, saying, well, what does all this mean exactly with this peddler's license? And you can see it's $500
Right,
up front,
yeah.
500 up front, and a surety bond, okay? I'm not sure you want to turn loose people selling furniture and books and going door to door and selling vacuum cleaners and all those kinds of things without some kind of licensure, or at least record of it.
Yeah.
But he is asking, and I think there's some reasonableness to the fact that food trucks these days are more popular. If you watch TV, they sell, you got food trucks all the time.
Yeah,
So
but selling out of the back of your car is just as popular too. I mean, I only look at it as you're
he's
going
asked for some consideration on it, and I told him it wasn't the most unreasonable request, but we gotta find some way to still be able to control the guy pulling off on the side of the road and flinging
That's what I was
couches
saying.
up the back.
Peanut, he lives in town, so that's not the issue. What if someone from North Carolina comes up with a food truck and he makes everybody in town of Blackstone sick,
Sick.
and we have no, that's where I get
I
concerned.
mean, there's plenty to think about. This is an old ordinance. I bet you this is probably from back World War II ordinance, you know, kind of a thing where,
And a peddler's license was, I mean, ultimately, I guess, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is to protect the
Yeah, the
town.
merchants of town.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
merchants of
merchants.
the town.
yeah, I don't think anybody at Shules wants somebody selling furniture in the front
Correct.
yard. You guys don't want somebody pulling a good wheel and selling potted
I
plants
think Candy earlier wants somebody setting up a food truck in her back parking lot.
in the back parking lot, exactly.
We're gonna open a can of worms, is what I think.
This is what we've got.
Now, if you pay $500, we don't say a
Go
word
for it.
because
And
you
your
pay for
surety
it.
bond.
No, what
But
is
that's-
an surety bond? What is?
A surety bond, just like you would have a performance bond. You go to the insurance company, you would say, I need a surety bond, or this is what somebody will put up.
So you're not paying out $5,000.
No. The surety bond is an insurance policy you buy. I don't buy $100,000 worth of life insurance. I pay $25 a month or $40 a month for $100,000.
So if something happens, he'll have $5,000 bond
There would be a bond,
insurance
but
to
the town
take.
could collect that bond if somebody got sick or something went down. Okay.
Like I said, I'm not worried about Peanut, but what if we just have Joe Smo come and makes half the town sick with food poisoning and?
Well, you never know. Even though Peanut, they don't intend to make anybody sick.
Oh yeah.
But you know, it can
But
happen.
Peanut is at least not going to
Yeah.
flee the town. We know where Peanut lives. But if someone's not from Blackstone and they hear that they've made everybody sick, they're not coming back here. They're gone.
Then I come and try to make it right out of it.
So this is a little different because a typical restaurant would
Hey,
have a
Chief.
business license. Hey, man, they would have a business license, they pay meals tax. This still has to pay meals tax, but instead of the business license, they pay this peddler's license.
I would rather, I mean, and I'm keeping Peanut out of it, I'd rather leave it as is, simply because of liability if somebody else outside town comes.
Have you talked to Tessie about this?
I have not, I just wanted to, Peanut and I talked one time in the office and I said, you know, it's not the craziest thing, you know, I watch TV and these food trucks are all over.
Oh,
how else are other communities dealing with portable food
I
trucks?
mean, it could be, we just
Instead of the
look into it.
500?
We have one around town, an ice cream truck or something.
In the summertime, there's an ice cream truck.
So
My
you pay?
kids holler at
I
it.
seen it the other day.
That's what, does crew have this, sort of the same thing, policy?
I don't know. I don't know what crew has, but I will tell you, maybe there's one thing you can do. Still require the surety bond, but instead of the 500 a year, make them pay a business license just like everybody else. That may be one way to get it down a little bit, and still make people that are out of town have the surety in case that they do it. It may be a softening of it instead of the 500 fixed. You gotta sell a lot of hot dogs for $500.
Are we going to, I mean, Lee, maybe, well, the chief's in here now too, but do we actually go and check people like that?
Well, we are now. Remember, with the meals tax, Jennifer getting
Correct,
good
meals
results.
tax, yeah.
She does have some folks that haven't responded or refused to respond, so we still got some back and forth there. But I think she's finding that most people are pretty close, believe it or not.
But say like if a food truck from wherever comes in town, does Lee, as an officer on call, have the right to go over and ask for right now, the peddler's license?
It's a town ordinance, yeah, you should be able to go over and ask.
I mean, and then if they don't have it, do we write ticket, give warning, tell them to
Tell them
leave?
to stop is, I
If
think,
you
what we've
stop
been
them,
doing.
they come, they have to get a pedal, get their license.
Cease until they get a license. Not as much as it used to be. It used to be pretty common. I'd get a call from
People probably learn it.
somebody
They've
that
learned
or
that.
somebody downtown. Hey, we got somebody down here selling stuff. 20 years ago, it was real common.
I remember the furniture truck all the time over there
Okay,
at
Food
Food
Lion.
Lion.
Oh, yeah.
I remember that truck there all
Not
the
as
time.
common as it used to be, but I'd say 20 years ago, it was real common. I see it all the time. I will talk to Tessie, if that's agreeable. I think the way, perhaps, to find some middle ground is just require them to have the same business license, but maintain the surety bond side of it. Because the guy selling furniture on the side of the road, he ain't gonna have none of it anything. He ain't gonna have a business license, he ain't gonna have that. And this is because if the guy's here one day, because really a business license costs you $30 to get started, and then if you don't report your income, that'd be
What
me
about
one
yard sale?
Yard sale, we have a separate yard sale permit in town.
But people don't,
But people
everybody.
don't-
people don't
Everybody-
1 out of 5 maybe
But
give
the
it.
yard sale, I mean,
I think they're like $10 or something for a permit. Alright, so we'll go to Tessie and do her thing, and
I wouldn't, don't spend a ton. I mean, if anything, go and just ask what other localities do then.
and she's a town attorney for several localities around,
Yeah.
and see if she can pull up something that works.
And then we also gotta look at it, like I said, a fairness to restaurants like Candy yourself or Gus, whoever.
Wendy's, yeah.
I mean, they pay to be in this town, really. I mean, they pay they've got a lot more overhead, so we owe it to who we already have
The
leaders.
one thing that I have enforced, and this is with, specifically with the fireworks guy, we're not letting them set up in residential areas. We're not letting them set up on town property. They've got to set up in a BG zoning district. So if you've noticed, they sold fireworks across from Classic Grill, and they sold fireworks at the old medical center. So we've been maintaining
So-
that's a resident, or a
Could a
retail
truck
area.
park on Main Street in a spot?
Now, like I said, we haven't been permitting anybody with this itinerant merchant to set up on town property, streets,
Which is
right of ways,
street,
parking
okay.
lots, any of that kind of stuff. Now, the only thing that I know of where people have set up is when Bobby's got the trains, there've been some folks making donuts.
Yeah.
And I think they've gotten the meals taxes and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, that's a one night a
Yeah,
year
that's
or
one of those
whatever,
things
they
that's-
do it over there, and
Tell man.
No. They're
I was about to
good.
say, people come out here and say, don't mess with the donuts now.
So, I'm gonna tell you that the donuts do set up 1 or 2 nights a year.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly how often, and that has been on town property as part of the trains and the tavern and all that.
But they pay meals tax or
They've
whatever.
been paying me, yeah.
So that's what you were proposing, that he just pay the, business license instead
Just
of
like
the-
anybody
Just
else.
like, instead of the
having a surety
$500
bond.
and get
But
a
the surety
bond.
bond remain in place in case there's a claim, somebody gets sick.
Right.
Or somebody gets a faulty couch or something, then we got a way to collect on. Okay.
So-
And
but I
they gotta
still-
set up in a business, privately owned business zoned property and not on town property.
Well, how long does a surety bond last? Cause like the fireworks people, they only need it for that week that they're
We can-
selling.
Well, the surety bond, like you get for a construction company or something like that, that's usually for the duration of the construction project, so you can get them longer.
So someone selling food around town would need to have one that lasts
Logically,
Yeah.
a
there's
year at a
often,
time.
hang on, hang on. Oftentimes in road construction projects, okay? For example, if a subdivision plat is recorded in the town of Blackstone, okay? Boroughs and outfitters, a subdivision plat is recorded and there's a necessity to build state-maintained road, which will automatically be dedicated to the town, okay? There's a surety bond. Now, sadly, I've learned my lesson on surety bonds in the expiring year. I've not seen a surety bond that sunsets beyond 1 year. So it's the town's obligation, if he's gonna do it continuously, that he's gotta maintain a surety bond, because I know road surety bonds will expire.
You have to have proof every year that,
He's gotta submit a new one every year, or he's out of compliance.
yeah.
Okay? But they will, if nothing else happens, they will expire road surety bonds. And Amelia County got to pave a new road in Redfield South subdivision after I had left, because they let a bond expire and the developer went bankrupt. Okay?
Well, is this expensive for him to get a security bond?
I don't know the exact price for the amount of $5,000, that's not dramatic though. These road construction projects in the tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars. I would say $5,000, I don't know the exact figure, but it can't be overwhelming.
Should we put that in the, after you talk to Tessie or whatever? Put it in there that it has to, that he has to keep, or whoever it is,
Can't let it expire.
can let it expire and keep a copy, and we keep a copy of whatever it
It's
is.
his obligation to provide it every year, but I would say it will expire in 12 months. Okay?
Yeah, and I mean, we'll word everything whenever we hear some more, but I still feel very adamant that $500 a year for peddlers, such as selling books out of the back of a car or a furniture truck. I
I mean,
mean,
you can
that,
make it specific to food trucks.
yeah,
See
so
if Tessie can
we'll
make it
look at
specific
that,
to
but I think
food.
a $500, I mean, we do need to do that, I think, just to keep
Because what I
Joe's
do
money.
think, I can't tell you exactly what his business plan is, but I think some of it's outside of town, in association with things going on.
Yeah.
And some of it's going to be in town. So it'll be, he'll only have to pay meals tax on the portion that's prepared and served in town. Okay?
Now, does this also apply for like when we go for arts and crafts?
Arts and crafts. I think what the town has been doing is requiring a meals tax payment, but not the business license.
Okay.
Not the business license. Maybe we need to clarify, you know? The donuts twice a year that Bobby does, you know, at Christmas time, Thanksgiving weekend. And I asked Tessie.
And it may be worth clarifying, even though it's not an ordeal, but it could be down the road, because someone could say it was a fairness issue.
We gotta be fair. And if Tessie puts a limit on it, if you're gonna do it more than 3 times a year,
Yeah.
or more than twice a year.
We do that with, I think, stews in town. I think you're allowed to do stews or stuff like that
Or
2 or
meals
3
tax
times
is
a year.
exempted for 4 times a year for volunteer
Correct.
type activities. Maybe we put a time limit on that, if legal, if Tessie passes muster. If you're gonna do it more than twice a year, 3 times a year, then you have to comply. If it's under 3 times, in conjunction perhaps with a town-sponsored event, i.e. arts and crafts or the tavern or the
Wine festival or
wine
something
festival.
like that.
See if there's a way to, that Tessie can craft it, pretty specific to what's going on.
Alright.
Cause you're gonna sell a lot of hot dogs, pay $500 business.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, we'll come back to you with that. Chief, all you.
All right. Well, we, Jennifer and I have been working on the turkey violation with Tessie to see what the original ordinance looks like, and then the revised and updated, much smaller and more compact and direct turkey violation. We'd like you to review it, see what you think, and
I see you have on there, public place shall also include public libraries. Have we had issues?
no, that's just a review
That was the
statement.
terminology that was,
Yes.
are we enforcing this for any reason? I mean, have we,
We've always enforced it.
Okay.
It was one council meeting, I believe Tessie pointed out that the code, state code had changed, so our local law referencing the state code needed to be updated.
I didn't know if it had anything stemming with the car break-ins or anything like that. This would help possibly, or?
It sure would help. It helps that we've at least updated it, because we have been enforcing the old curfew
Yeah.
violation.
Okay. I see the times have changed. They're between 10 and 6 instead of 11 and 5. Which, I mean, if you're out past that time, you probably shouldn't be out. I mean, without a guardian or an adult.
most of what you're reading, I know it's not a lot, but most of it is verbatim from the state code. What we did, we made the exception part, subdivision C, that's us. We put that in there as an exception. The state code doesn't have that. We also put in there, under subdivision A, the state code just says it shall be unlawful for minors who are not attended by their parents. We put in there guardian or other adult person having care, just to be what we thought was a little more reasonable.
And, I mean, and I agree, I like that, but does that restrict you, say if you see a 15-year-old walking on the street, does that restrict you from being able to stop and say, hey, what are you doing? I mean, could he say, I'm on the way home? I mean,
He could,
from a certain event or whatever?
yes,
So, I mean, but that won't stop y'all from actually stopping and questioning?
no.
Okay.
We don't have much to go past 10 o'clock anyway, except for me to bar.
Yeah, I mean, like I coach at Kinston, and I mean, I know kids, we get home at 11 o'clock at night sometimes, and obviously they gotta go home, so, but, so, no, I think that's fine.
This is not on here, but one other thing I would like to see you cracking down on, the riding of the bicycles on the sidewalk. I've almost gotten hit twice. When you come out and they can zoom in down and run right into you.
Right on Main Street.
I seen 3 boys do it right around here. We just come through town.
And they be flying, I mean,
It's dangerous.
so it is dangerous. And
Is
just
that-
think,
are they-
these old bones would never heal if I got hit by a bicycle.
Are they not supposed to ride on sidewalks? Okay.
No,
It's dangerous, really.
the real supposed to ride facing traffic, right?
Ride with traffic.
With traffic.
Ride with the traffic.
Yeah, right with traffic.
With traffic.
It's changed, what, 3 or 4 times?
Yeah.
Do you want a motion to approve that? And
I'll send it to
I
the.
recommend, since it is an ordinance, it's gonna need to be advertised.
So we can have
But
time
we're
to do the
too-
public hearing.
Too quick to get on the 28th,
yeah,
advertise for the 28th. So I think we just take it to council and say, hey, we're gonna advertise this ordinance and heads up, and
So,
but it'll have to be at the September council
so
meeting.
we're not gonna advertise.
I don't think you have time to advertise.
You do. The meeting's not till the 28th, we still have 2 more weeks.
If we advertise it this week, but it'll have to.
Next week and the following week. So, but you want council approval first before,
I move to recommend to council to advertise this new or revised ordinance on the curfew law.
Second.
Okay, it's properly moved and second to take before council for approval of the new, the revised curfew ordinance. All in favor?
It's to request authorization to advertise.
Y'all for the advertise.
Electric service construction policy, Dan and I are still working on that, but basically it's to codify what we're already doing. And it's specific to commercial and multifamily units and the need to charge for the materials at a minimum. We've been doing it like with Goodwill and McCormick and all those kinds of things, but you know, these transformers are mighty expensive. These
But for
pad mounts,
residential, it'll still be,
it's free for residential. For single-family residential, there's no
unless they
charge.
do underground, you pay.
And then we
for-
charge for the
pay
linear
for
foot
material.
cost for the materials. But things like commercial activities, big hotels, apartment buildings and some things like that, we've been charging for materials and labor to install those things. It takes a long time to make enough profit to pay for a $10,000 transformer
Yeah,
or
I
something
agree.
like that. All right? Next item, tap fees. You look at your board packet. After much discussion, you know, Fort Pickett was gonna, or Fast C was gonna owe us hundreds of thousands of dollars in tap fees. We came to them and told them, we have an expectation that you make the payment. Oh my, we can't do that. And I said, well, first of all, I don't know why you've got such big meters on everything. If you look at the water meter on the second page, for the cistern, which is to collect the water to spray on the driving track, a 4-inch meter, they had an 8-inch meter in there, and they went down to a 4, and it was still $128,000 in tap fee. Okay? So, I told them to rethink many things, and if there's no reason for a 2-inch, or a 4-inch, or a 6-inch, or an 8-inch meter, don't put it on, because, I know this sounds harsh for the town, because we're gonna give up some tap fees, we own them when they put them in. And I don't know what you know about 8-inch water meters, but they're mighty expensive to fix if they go south.
We probably wouldn't be able to, would we? We probably wouldn't.
We'd have to get a contractor to come in there and remove the vault and do all that kind of stuff. We don't want bigger meters than are necessary because we own them for the next ever, okay? So they went back and recalculated. Now, it's our job to confirm what they're putting in, make sure we understand. But it came out to a $17,000 credit to them by reducing the size of the meters, okay?
So we gotta pay them.
No.
I was about to say, I can't,
No, we're not gonna pay them, and they're not asking us to, but I do feel like, and you're also on the fire and water, I wanted to get to you as well, and let you guys know, it's almost a wash. We're losing a couple $100,000 in tap fees that we hadn't expected to get anyhow, but we're also not getting 8-inch meters, we're also not getting 2-inch meters for a yard hydrant, things like that.
what would you have done with that $200,000?
If we had got
If we had a
it,
guy.
I'd put it in the water sewer reserve. That's what I would've done with it. I really don't have a specific use for it right
Well, no,
now.
I was just wondering, I mean, because it would have been nice to have that, obviously, but like you said, down the road, it's probably less hassle.
Man, you talk about replacement with it, you can see what the tap fee is.
Oh, yeah.
On a 4-inch, 128,000.
$128,000.
Have they gave you a different, updated,
That is the updated.
that is?
That is the
So,
updated.
out of this, if we come even, is any money coming from the town? I mean, like, labor or anything? I mean,
Andre, and Andre's out there a lot.
so,
But Andre's not putting in anything, Andre's just
check it.
helping and opening valves, and he spends a lot of time out there messing with those guys.
And we'll recoup that by water fees
So you
and,
gonna sell much more.
okay.
You're gonna sell
That's the only reason I
40,000
say, when I
gallons
look
day.
at a tap fee, that pays for Andre to be that type man.
You're gonna sell 40,000 gallons of water and 40,000 gallons of sewer. And if you think about it, out of town, per 1,000 gallons is about $10 or $11 per 1,000 gallons. So 10 times is about $400 a day.
So it'll pay for Andre. I mean,
You almost make $1,000 a day from Fast C and water and sewer.
may
And
pay
that's a
your,
rough
almost pay
estimate,
your
but-
salary.
Huh?
Almost pay your salary.
No, it's gonna go up a little. So, we told them, put these big meters in. So
So
we're
are
at
they
fault
good now?
because they did. And now Andre's job is to take that chart and make sure they're putting in 4-inch meters, or a 1/2-inch meter, or a 3/4-inch meter, or 1 1/2,
So-
like the chart said.
What if they come up and put a 2-inch instead of a 1.5?
Then they gotta pay the difference in tap fee.
Okay.
Now, they're gonna go back to that $17,000, and Andre's gotta make sure they put in.
Okay.
Okay.
So they're not asking for money back?
No.
Because I can't see us.
They put it in
saying-
writing too, we're not asking for any money.
Okay.
Don't lose that paper.
Huh?
Don't lose that paper.
It's an email, so I'll share it with the committee and send it to everybody if you like. But they noted that it was a credit.
Well, they're doing, that's a pretty good deal for them then. If they're getting all those tap fees and not paying a dime.
What they're doing is there's existing buildings and meters out there,
Yeah.
just like I would do in town. If you've got an existing house and you tear it down, I don't charge you a new tap fee.
Correct.
For example, Mr. Rose just put in a modular home, a double wide one. You remember which it is?
Modular.
Modular home over on Carver Street.
Mhm.
And there was a trailer there. We didn't charge him a new water and sewer tap fee because there was already a meter
My
and a
first,
sewer connection.
my first house I built, there was an old house there
Mhm.
and it was gone, but the taps were still there.
We didn't charge you another
You
tap.
didn't charge me for that.
Same with these old buildings out of Pickett, and they give you a list of them. If something was there, they credited themselves, and I agree,
Gotcha.
for what was existing.
And then we take up all of the water.
Do you still use the same tap though, or not? Typically not, probably.
I would say a lot of that stuff's old.
Yeah.
I would dare say they probably are replacing most of that stuff.
And they're paying for the actual tap unit or whatever you have to do to.
And all Andre's doing is going out there and
Okay.
cutting the valves off and make sure he understands what's going on and advising them, because when it first started, it was kind of a mess. But Biggs has gone out there now, and he's really good at making it all.
They're used to working with us, so.
Yeah, so Andre's put some time out there. I mean, it's not been free, but Andre's invested a good bit of time in it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Everybody good? And it's probably not gonna sit well with everybody, but it's better than getting these 8-inch taps. All right, Jennifer, remind me about utility bills. Where we go?
That's it, besides utility bill.
Jim?
Betsy was supposed to send me the email,
Yes, sir.
so I don't know if do you know about it? Did you see, she sent you the link too, so I figured you knew something about it.
All right, I'll think. Unless I go back there and look.
You said it was something about that landlords.
Oh,
Yeah.
we just talked about that a minute ago. Jesse sent me an email with a link on it about taking delinquent utility bill. And we got a bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Man, I can tell you, we got tens of thousands of dollars of unpaid utility bills out there, running around. not including taxes and not including personal property tax. There's a lot of delinquent utility bills, primarily renters who take off, especially when they get a big one. A lot of times these renters, if I'm living in the house, you guys probably have been dealing with this some, but people complain to you. If I've got a delinquent utility bill, I take off and say my cousin puts it in their name, right? Or my mother, or my father.
I know a person doing that right now.
Happens all the time. I mean, it's just a game to try to catch folks. Now, Brenda knows nearly everybody in the town, okay? Well, she knows who's living with who and all that kind of stuff. So we catch some, but we got a lot of delinquent utilities, okay? And what Tessie is proposing, we didn't ask her about this.
Thousands of dollars, about how much? I mean, you just guesstimate.
$50,000. That's the utility. Vicki was collecting pretty good on some of that. She was picking up the pace. She was picking up $2,500 a month in delinquent real estate, personal property, and utilities.
Did you say 50 or 15?
50.
Good grief.
Yeah. There's a bunch out there. But some of them were from 1997.
That's the bad thing, though. We're paying for that.
You are paying for that. And they're hard to catch now.
Not us, we ain't anybody. I mean,
And if they're not working, it's hard to get a garnishment. Now, we'll put a payment plan together for anybody.
yeah.
Anybody that wants to
You
get
make
this
an
in.
effort. That's yeah.
We're slowly but surely chipping away at them, but more coming on the list all the time. So that's one of the things we want Justin to really be working on is collections. Right? Vicki was picking up the pace. She really was catching some. Juanita obviously was working, but Vicki was only working on the old timers. 2008,
Yes.
2009, 2007. But what Tessie sent us was a link to a website where the town can put a lien on the house. The owner can have a lien put on the house and really put the nexus or the requirement to collect on the owner from the tenant. Okay? And that way you'll at least secure the debt.
Well, that's. I mean, do they justify that by saying that the owner has the security deposit, possibly, or? I
Well, I
mean,
can tell you, some people, who's the guy that owns all the houses over in Pickett Court? Kind of a funny guy, dark hair, or silver hair.
Glenn Melton.
Real nice guy.
No,
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, Moyer.
Yeah, Moyer
Moyer.
Webb.
Where will? He'll take the security deposit and he'll give it to the town on occasion if somebody's got a big outstanding utility bill. I don't know if it covers it all, but he will do that. Some of them will. I don't know if you guys want to look at this, but I'll get Tessie to give us something more.
Give us the information.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
it ain't
Bob
gonna
was
be
not
popular, man. I
I
can
know,
tell you.
but, no, Ms. Thompson's not interested in that.
But you gotta remember, $50,000 may
invested.
save Ben from raising our taxes
True.
somehow. I mean, that's how you gotta look at it. I mean,
Man.
it cost us. Ultimately, it's gonna cost every citizen in
It
Blackstone.
costs citizens of Blackstone.
It cost us. So do you foot the bill for your next door neighbor that doesn't pay their light bill?
Like I said, I know one person who's doing it right now, and I'm not very happy.
People slipping around on somebody else putting the utilities in their name.
Yeah, because they moved up the street.
So, do it all the time. But Brenda's been here since the early '70s, and
She
she
knows
literally
most of
knows
it.
everybody.
And she can catch a lot of these people when they try to do it.
Now,
too.
when they do it, I mean, to me, I mean, it's almost like that's,
It's fraud.
yeah, it's a fraud. I mean, I'd call Chief over there and say, hey, come get him over here. I
We
mean,
got a trailer over on Taylor Street that's famous for it. I mean, there's a bunch of them where we.
Like, this is over on Carver Street that I'm thinking of
I
right
mean,
off the top
fraud
of
to
my
me
head.
is just.
But I can tell you, put it to a stop when the landlord's responsible for collecting that utility bill.
Because the landlord's gonna be more selective as to who's going in there.
And you'll put a stop to it. If you gotta pay it out of your pocket, or your clients have to pay it out of your pocket, it's gonna be, slow it down. We do it in Amelia, but we actually put the utility account in the landlord's name to start with. That no tenant can put it in their name, they put it in their own.
Didn't it used to be like that here?
I thought it was.
It
Back
may
when,
very well have.
Yeah, it was
when we
like
had
that.
Spanish Apartments, weren't that like
Amelia
that?
does it that way. It's gotta go in, whoever owns a lot of apartments around here, Dave McCormick's gotta put the deposits up for all those apartments over there. That's how they do it in Amelia, and I don't think you get a lot, but they don't have electric, and the sewer bills are fixed like $12 a month,
Yeah.
so it's not, yeah, it's pretty small. Alright.
Just get the information.
Yeah,
Anything else you'd like to discuss? No?
that I can think about.
When's since we're in health and ordinance, have we done that screening day for the employees yet? When is that scheduled for?
Yeah, we already did that.
Okay. Did many show up?
A handful showed up.
How would you do it?
I did.
What kind of swing?
16-year-old man.
We did that, it's been in our policy for years, to have one day where they'll come down and do a health screening for all of our employees.
Blood pressure.
I think it was a pretty good turnout.
I want to ask Chief, has the lady set up around here on Broad Street? She does testing and stuff.
Action testing.
Yeah, has she talked to you about that?
I've spoken to her, Jennifer has spoken to her.
So is this a possibility that we could deal with her?
We're waiting on a price, aren't we?
We're waiting for quotes. We're
Instead of
using
going far.
the two companies that we use
Well, that's
now,
you, Rick, remember?
and we're waiting for a quote from
I
five.
have to pay them to
Okay.
go to Conroe.
How much?
Pay a person to drive
So
them
I
over.
can tell her to go cheap.
No, that's good. I'd like to
That's my
use
friend.
them local if they're qualified because
We met with her 2 weeks ago. Gave the offer, we just need to get her to give us the price that she promised us.
in writing.
I've got one from Trident and I've got one from Fad, so I'm just waiting on her price.
I will let you guys know one thing that we're gonna work on in the coming budget, and I'm gonna put in the capital plan on y'all's behalf. We really need to codify our ordinances. We've adopted a lot of ordinance over the past 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, and they need to be put in, because the stuff on the internet, town code,
Dated.
not so good. So, between Jennifer and myself and Tessie and Mitchie Code and everybody else, you'll see in the capital improvement plan, probably $25,000 to $30,000 item.
Don't raise my taxes.
Don't vote for it.
I can tell you. This is gonna be one right here that you'll never see.
So I will tell you that just the finances of the town are in good shape. We'll put monies aside to pay for our capital projects first, and then we're gonna start our contributions to our reserve funds. And what we're doing right now is $45,000. If you guys remember, we pay ourselves first. Every pay period, on the Friday after paychecks go out, we make a contribution to the reserve funds or pay for capital projects or whatever. So we're on course. We've been through 2 pay periods this fiscal year, and we've been able to put the full amount of money. So we've put almost $100,000 aside thus far this fiscal year. We're in a terrible financial time of the year. September, October, the worst months cash flow, because we're as far from tax collection as we can. But VDOT checks come in September. But remember, we used to make a living on VDOT checks. Now we put VDOT checks where they're supposed to, in road paving lines. And so that's not available cash that we use to
Getting out of that.
bolster ourselves.
When is the project on South Main supposed to start?
I'm waiting on a contract to show up.
Got rougher right there.
Oh, it's gonna be a mess.
Way here it
Oh,
was.
super mess.
Also, at the corner of South Main and Church in front of the Episcopal Church, there's a little divot.
I think it's an old manhole. I think.
Underneath.
I think it's where the old manhole was that we took out. I think that's what it is. It needs to be milled out and paved.
There's also a bump right there, those double lines.
There it is.
That's right.
It's settlement in the road is what it is, because we replaced that sewer line right there. Pretty good, but you got 2 spots. One of them, because it's circled like a frying pan, I think that's where the old manhole was, and the other one in the center line. If you ever seen them put that in, they put that trench box in, and they pull it, and I think it undercuts sometimes the dirt under the pavement undercuts, but it's better than I expected. But,
And Westwood.
Westwood's terrible. Under the power lines,
Yeah, right at the stop sign.
it's on the schedule to be milled out and replaced.
Got that plumbing, trust me.
It's on the schedule, and on or about the 28th of August, Colony Construction is supposed to be in town doing milling, primarily in Mr. Hamner's district. I'm trying not to bounce them around too much because they don't like bouncing around. We're going to work on Mr. Hamner's district, primarily Forest Drive, MacArthur Drive, Ridge Road, places like that. And we're going to do the intersection of 40 and 46 down there at the shopping center. If you ever go on 46 like you're going to Brunswick, bleh, terrible. North Main, it's got a couple bad spots up near Wanda Ebbs's house. And Northwest Avenue's got a gooey place up there by the Welcome to Blackstone sign. We hit that. But like I said, I'm trying not to bounce too much because they don't like that. And
Could we try cold pack on,
it's going to come right out. Are you talking about on Westwood Drive?
no, well, that's down to the dirt.
It is, and it was where the heavy equipment was working on the power lines, going across it, mucked it up.
I was thinking about on West Pass, out there near Welcome to Blackstone side.
Up on Northwest Avenue, you really need to dig it out. And they'll be here in a couple of weeks. If we can just suck it up and get a couple more weeks in, I think you'll see a whole different deal. And once we get that done, then we're going to come back with, next year, we'll come back with slurry seal.
So,
and North Main as well. We're probably going to do more slurry sealing than we have been doing next year. I think we'll do North Main, a section of Northwest Avenue up at the town limits, and Nottaway Avenue. Okay.
Gravit?
Gravit is on next year's paving schedule.
Right there at Nottaway where,
Oh yeah, it's a sewer line that has been replaced.
That's Maven. That's
It's maybe,
bad.
yeah. That next year is in Barbara's district primarily, but it's got fewer roads in her district than some of the other places. Tunstall's looking a little tough.
streets a little,
Luke Street, but we're a little nervous about paving Luke Street right away because I think you've got, if you drive down Fall Street, you'll see some, and I'm afraid some of those sewer laterals are not in great shape. So before we do that, we need to camera them to make sure we're not putting good pavement over bad. Okay? And even if it's just tar and gravel, just to get us through another year or two before we fix it, it's not the end of the world. But Barbara's district is scheduled for next year. Okay? Then hopefully, we get East End grant and replace the water and sewer, and then we start in earnest replacing roads over there, because you got some goo-goos over there on Tavern Street, and it's tough over there.
at the end of that V-Bank is like rough on Tavern.
And I've put that off simply because I don't want to put new down and then find out we're going to dig it right back up. All right. Anything else? Nada. Okay. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned at 2:36.
Housekeeping matter.
Nancy Wallace, you know where she lives?
Yeah.